Don in London, hello. It's February the 25th, 2013. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol. So I'm Don, an alcoholic in recovery, one day at a time. And also to behaviour around people, places and things, trying to be perfect, trying to strive to be perfect so that you would like me, and then everything will be alright. And I missed the point. I missed the point in all of that. That each day we learn a little bit more about who we are becoming. And we don't know what we're going to end up being like at the end of it all. But the journey is worthwhile if we are able to live life with freedom to choose the best path. So after drinking for many years, I realised I often said yes to things because I thought that would be the right way forward, based on money, the job, the girl, the situation, the circumstance. So I had no plan other than to follow what I thought I ought to be, a chameleon, somebody who would fit in with your life, rather than maybe be a bit more free in my choices about the life I would like, because I have an entitlement to explore that. It doesn't mean I've got entitlements, it just means I can explore the right path, and I only know that as I go along. But I wasn't very good at saying no. I certainly said yes to a drink, and then I enjoyed it because it changed the way I felt about me and the world. It made me able to cope in situations I found difficult, because I never learned how, with my feelings. So what's made it possible to find sobriety? Well, some professionals got me dry, which was good, and then the world felt very painful on the emotional and in the moment of now. And they said, well, we've got you sober to an extent, but now you need some support for it to bed in so you'll be alright. And they said, why not go to a fellowship? And the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous was suggested, because drink seemed to be my primary burden of addiction. Very last place I wanted to go, but in fact it was the best place for me to go, to try and let go of my best friend all my life. Alcohol was my best friend. I thought it was the answer to fixing my feelings, and to an extent it did, until it became a killer melody and it was no good for me anymore. So how does AA help me? Well, first of all, I need to say that I do not speak for the Fellowship of AA, and if you are in the Fellowship of AA, you know I don't want to speak for you. Absolutely not. Because in the Fellowship of AA you develop your own voice and understanding of life, and then you live it. So I don't speak for other people, and I don't speak for the fellowship, because the fellowship is what you encounter on a daily basis, either in meetings or groups, who share about how to be sober. So I'll share the AA preamble so you know what to expect. Well, no, you know what to anticipate if you go, what it's all about. But it may not be quite as apparent as that, because people are people in varying stages of development, a bit like real life. But at least in fellowship we're not trying to pull each other down, hopefully. Not intentionally, but sometimes we do, by accident, or because we just aren't that open, honest and willing. Anyway, this is AA. It's a microcosm of reality, of people who have gone to the very edge of existence, usually, hit rock bottom, and are now finding a way to live life in a useful way. The AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. So don't forget, it's a fellowship of men and women. What you see is what you get. Some healthy, some unhealthy. So you'll hear both good and bad and ugly, or all good, bad and ugly things happening all at once from people's experience, strength and hope. So you'll think, that person's mad, that person seems quite good, and that person just seems to be okay. And maybe I should talk to the okay person about what should I do next. Or ask a few okay people how they got sober. It's always the many voices in the fellowship. If you're attracted to one person in fellowship, try find some sort of unattraction process. Because if you're attracted to one person, either you will drag them down, or they may give you the wrong answers for your life, and it's your life. So it's all about the many voices in recovery, and not just one, and certainly not my voice. I'm just showing what happens and how it works for me. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And I didn't have a desire to stop drinking when I first went to AA. I went there under sufferance. And so it took me a while to get back to the second meeting. 5 years. Not recommended. Anyway, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And even if you haven't got a desire, if you keep on going to meetings, it will ruin your drinking. Because there's no good reason to keep on drinking once you realise you don't need it. There are no dues or fees for AA. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. So it's a bit like the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, or the 2 fishes and the 5 loaves, depending on which meeting you went to back then. We seem to cover our costs, but if you haven't got any money, it doesn't matter. And that's important to know. It's free, as much as it can be. AA is not allied. This is what you are allowed to do, but we don't do within. The fellowship doesn't represent anything, but you do. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. But everybody who goes to AA is full of it, full of life, full of experience, full of opinions, beliefs, which are right for each of those people going to AA. Same for me. I have my own beliefs and opinions, and I can be controversial by even making a video about how AA helps me. But it's one video of many now. Many others do these videos. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So AA is a community of people who have a primary purpose to stay sober and help others to achieve sobriety. And that's what we do in all the different ways we can. And if you just go and sit in a meeting, you're contributing by being there, and you can have a cup of tea and listen, and it may be to your advantage. What really works is to understand that it is a fellowship, a society of people. We're working in unity, service and recovery around sobriety. So sober first, the rest of life is your life. And what we find are the 12 steps which help an individual develop an open, honest, willing outlook, and how to experience life in the moment, and how to live life in the moment. And we have 12 traditions to hold the fellowship together, which is about unity, service and recovery. And each person contributes in the way that they find is appropriate for themselves. So we all do a little bit of service, from greeting people at the door, newcomers, old-timers, people we like, people we don't like. We'd still say hello to them, because the whole thing is about fellowship. Others would make it an organisation where they would like to be in control of it, and I don't want to control anything in anybody else's life, because you need your personal power back. Anyway, my thoughts for today. Just for today, this is February the 25th, 2013. Just for today, I will live today. Just live in the moment. Stripping the emotional and spiritual to the bare bones. Emotional, experiencing feelings which are right for the experience of now. So understanding and experiencing feelings in the moment. And spiritual, being in the moment of now and coping. Feeling life and coping with it. And if I cannot cope, having the humility to ask for help. Humility to ask for help. Humility is not a dirty word. It just means you don't know something. And you can live in ignorance, which could be horrible, or you can live in a bit more knowledge, which might be helpful. So humility is a good quality, I have found. But other people will say humility is, don't you know that by now? How old are you? I can remember my boss, the director of a very large company, said to me once, "I expect a senior manager to know these things." And I was dumbfounded, because no other senior manager I knew the things he was talking about. And I was belittled by it. It was part of a bullying process to get me out, and he did in the end. So, what is a good day for you? When you know everything, cope with everything, and everything works just as you would like it. I would call that a Groundhog Day, maybe. Although in Groundhog Day things change gradually. But a Groundhog Day is often seen as the same thing happening over and over again, or a bit like the Stepford wives, who were in fact robots. Dreadful. Anyway, a good day for me, a gentle meditation for a few seconds, and my meditation is: step 1, I am powerless over alcohol, and if I took a drink, life would get unmanageable. Step 2, I can be restored to sanity on a daily basis. And step 3, let go, having to be in charge and know everything, and ask for help when I need help, which is most days on something. Thank goodness we have the internet and all sorts going on where we can just find some advice, but then we still have to make a choice whether we feel that advice is useful or not. So a good day for me, a gentle meditation around step 1 to step 2 and step 3, followed by I can do a spot check inventory any time of the day when it goes a bit pear-shaped. And it's also accepting there will be many parts of the day and many constituents of today which will be good, bad or ugly, or both, all those things in one. Yeah, and it will always be mixed up. Part of the day will give me freedom to choose. Part of the day I will feel constrained and powerless. And part of the day I may not understand too much, but I can ask. Humility means I know that I don't know things. And when things are beyond my experience, I can ask for help. If there is no help available, that's okay. It means I just have to wait. And if people assume I ought to know by now, or look at me in my ignorance and wonder why I don't know, they can still help me if they choose to. It depends on how I respond to them. What, you don't know that by now? They may help me still. But if people don't want to help me because they cannot be bothered, that is their problem, and I don't need to be the problem. I do not need the problem to be mine alone. So I can always go and ask for more. I really don't understand this because it's not in my life experience. I might be 50 odd years old, heading to 60. I never thought I'd get this far. Anyway, a lot of people won't help you, and that's a fact of life. So it's how do we approach people who might be helpful, inside fellowship, outside fellowship. Principles work in the same way. Humility counts. Now, bullying, this is within the fellowship, the territory of the bleeding deacon. Bleeding deacons is a term used in fellowship to depict the worst of sobriety, where everything still needs to be the way the deacon wants it. And the bleeding deacon can bleat and take the initiative away and require everything just so. You'll find them in meetings. We've always done it this way. The fellowship ain't what it used to be, and you're absolutely right. The fellowship changes every day. Things ain't what they used to be. It happens in real life as much as it happens in the reality of fellowship. It's ever changing. So there's a lot of bleating sometimes. And they take the initiative away and require everything just so they like it that way. It is a form of bullying, to abuse and dictate and undermine others. So don't forget, we're still humans, having a human experience in fellowship. And don't forget, we came from the place of complete breakdown, where life didn't work and life is working. So people like to hang on to the bits of life that works, and they develop their own personal routines, which can inflame others and make the bleeding deacon bleed and bleat. So, this is important. Bleeding deacons, it's a form of bullying, and you'll find them in real life too. They abuse and dictate and undermine others. In life, the experts can undermine the novice by their egocentric behaviour, in other words, wanting it their way. Experts are for wisdom learned over the decades, and not from some book they have read or an exam they have passed. Or they may have written a book about how to be an expert in this, And actually there is no expertise in sobriety except the day you're living. You are your own expert at living your life. So don't believe that you have to believe another person's viewpoint. You may like it and adopt it, but you don't have to accept it if you don't like it and you don't want to adopt it. So experts are difficult characters, sometimes. Governments and the media are forever employing consultants, and the consultants are the ones who cause most breakdowns in people and organisations. And the consultants are the ones who cause it. Abuse and psychosis, because they think they know better. Right, let's smash it to pieces so we can rebuild it. And you can't turn a big organisation around in 2 minutes unless you smash it to pieces. So smash it to pieces and then see how it all ravels out. And when they do that to our National Health Service, look at the chaos they're creating, and look at the people who are in charge who say it's not their fault, we're just smashing it to pieces and wondering how it's going to fall out. And of course very bad decisions have been made over the years by previous governments. But that is the way it is, and if you haven't got the courage to change as a politician or an expert, you're in the shit. There's a great big hole outside. I don't know what they're doing in it. It's making a lot of noise. So, and they have disdain for those who do not follow their path. So, you know, in the Fellowship AA Big Book, Chapter 5, starts off with, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. It says the Fellowship path, which is try to learn about the 12 steps and 12 traditions and see how they can be applied in your life. Those are the way, that's the way forward. The bleeding deacon will say, why aren't you following my path? You ingrate, you lack of knowledge person, you newcomer. Or the expert will say, this is what I'm saying, there are elder statesmen, yes, within the Fellowship there are elder statesmen who say, I don't necessarily want you to follow my path, why not find your own path? One you can adopt for yourself. We have elder statesmen, and the elder statesman is full of it. Wisdom, that is. And the elder statesman knows that wisdom is useless unless it is shared in an open, honest and willing way. Excuse me a sec. Shut the fire door. Shut that door. Within the Fellowship we have elder statesmen. And the elder statesman is full of it, usually. Wisdom, that is. And the elder statesman knows that wisdom is useless unless it is shared in an open, honest and willing way. The elder statesman also knows that wisdom over the years, it keeps on changing, and new blood, the newcomer in Fellowship, will be learning not only from the elder statesman about the 12 steps and 12 traditions, they will be learning from life as it is in the moment of now. So, old wisdom, new situations. How do they go together? Well, the good news is that 12 steps are 12 principles of living. They won't interfere with your ability to choose your path. They'll make it clearer about what your path may be as you wish to choose it. So in Fellowship terms, the elder statesman sees everyone is equal. Everyone is on a learning path. Some know more about this and some know more about that. So we're learning from each other, hopefully. How else do you get to be an elder statesman with wisdom, which is working for you? And I'm not an elder statesman, I'm a daytime statesman, equal, hopefully, to the workings of today. But if you do identify an elder statesman full of wisdom and not full of shit, elder statesmen have no power and no need of power, and need no power, and have no desire particularly to influence people one way or another. They simply weigh up the pros and cons and leave it to individuals to work out what they can and cannot do, and the wisdom to know the difference one day at a time. So, you know, whatever you have in terms of wisdom, the most important thing is sharing it equally, and in an open, honest and willing way. Because if you hold back, you're playing power games. If you hold back on the wisdom you have and don't share it, or you share only enough that you think, well, they're only capable of taking this much in. No. Share what you think, what's in your head. You say, that's as much as I can share today. Is that enough? And often the newcomer will say, yes, that's too bloody much. I don't know what to do with all that information. And the answer is, we don't know how fast or slow or quickly or slowly people learn the difference in life, the good bit, making your own personal free choices, keeping your own opinions and beliefs, and not falling into the trap of thinking somebody knows better than you. I don't know better than you about you, and you don't know better about me, other than I may not be the right person to share information with in this way. So if I'm not right for you, switch off. That's the best thing you can do. Don't clutter your mind with things which don't work for you. Anyway, fellowship is just like ordinary life. There will be bullies and bleeding deacons littered around the environment, and there will also be elder statesmen, not so littering, and probably not that obvious to those attracted to the bright shiny individuals pontificating and suggesting they know best and have a way for you to live like them. So what I'm saying is, if you're attracted to bright shiny individuals who seem to have what you want to have, be aware of what your motives are as a human being. Why are you attracted to them? So, in fellowship we will be attracted to good sobriety, ? Not necessarily one day at a time. Fellowship is full of romance and financial opportunities to the good, the bad and the ugly. Now, see, because I love the girls in fellowship, I mean all girls my age and upwards and a bit downwards probably, and I admire girls because girls are girls and I'm a boy. So, romance and financial opportunities to the good, the bad and the ugly are always there. And when we are new in fellowship, we can be attracted to all the old qualities we might find valuable, when the real value of fellowship is about sobriety and not about your libido or your bank balance. So the idea that some people say, why don't you try and keep a plant alive for a year, or your cat that you still have, or your dog that you still have, or the hamster or the guinea pig, try and keep them alive for a year before you start a relationship with another person on a romantic level. I left it for about 5 years, but the result was the same. So the result is we live reality. Now this is the good bit, and the bad bit and the ugly bit. So yes, bleeding deacons will tell you to put on your chastity belt, get your finances sorted out, and wear dark clothes and find a puritanical hat to wear, and a dark suit probably. Elder statesmen, on the other hand, will have ugly. What's this? Elder statesmen, on the other hand, will have or suggest that fellowship is for sober, and once you are comfortable in your sobriety, a mistype. The old geezer can't always type straight. Yeah. Once you are comfortable in your own sobriety, this is what the elder statesman might say to you, or the daytime statesman in my case. You have freedom of choice all over again, and the good news and the bad news and the ugly news. In sobriety, with all those choices, we can still end up doing the same thing again. We still end up being attracted to what was part of our downfall. The absolute good news is we find out sooner rather than later what's going on in our noggin. And with the can do and cannot do and the wisdom to know the difference, it is more likely to happen earlier in recovery or sober, and just for a day. So we can find ourselves being attracted to all the bright and shiny qualities that we used to like, which are maybe not so good for us, around whatever it is, to do with libido and romance. And then we suddenly find, well, hang on a minute, I'm in a fellowship which is based on love, which is great. I feel attracted to that girl, or however it works for you. And why am I attracted to that person? Well, the simple answer is, girls who used to drink like me, why wouldn't I like them in sobriety? At the same time, and it's the same for women, you look at a man, you think, oh well, I like that man because those were the qualities I was looking for before. But was it based on love? Or was it just based on lust, infatuation and dangerousness? Well, if it wasn't dangerous and a bit like that, why would we bother? I don't know, but we do bother. And romance can blossom once you've got your sober head back on, and also realise that the first part of love is madness. There is cherishing to be done, and I don't doubt that that can happen, because it has happened to me. I'm very glad it has. So the absolute good news is we find out sooner rather than later whether this is a good idea or not a good idea. I was just watching, this is completely off the libido and romance thing, just watching a celebrity chef on TV going into a hospital canteen facility to help the staff and manager with a fresh pair of eyes, looking for economy as well as quality. And TV programs are littered with celebrity chefs who are going up and down the country saying, why not do it this way? You can save money and you get better quality food. And then it all comes to nothing. And this is partly why. A fresh pair of eyes looking for economy as well as quality. And the celebrity chef within moments is able to identify a massive waste of money on ingredients which are not good and not necessary. And this is within the hospital. The celebrity chef looks on with disdain and disbelief at the manager, who's stirring some custard. So there he is, disdain and disbelief at the manager, walks away and says to the camera something like, I've just saved them £10,000 and I've only been here for 5 minutes. Well, if you were stirring your custard and some celebrity chef said, why are you putting cream in your custard, which is costing you £10,000 a year, and then looks at you as if you're completely bonkers, and then walks off and says in the corridor outside, in other words, what a twat. That's what he's saying about the person who's running it. The twat puts in cream and it's costing him £10,000 a year out of £1 million budget or £10 million budget. Anybody can do that. But the chef looks on with disdain and disbelief. I've just saved them £10,000 and I've only been here for 5 minutes. Putting down and abusing others is no way to train or develop new ways and new attitudes of working. So you wonder why it goes backwards when you've gone, if you're a chef or a consultant or a bleeding deacon. So do it this way and it'll be alright. And of course they don't give you that's not the answer. It takes more than that. Just do it this way, just fucking do it, is the easy way to psychosis. So no wonder people find bleeding deacons a useless concept, useless people. You know, they're pariahs, but they exist because I know better than you, and I don't. So, yeah, putting down and abusing others is no way to train or develop new ways and new ways of working. And within the fellowship, the same is true. A fellowship that is based on love, this is what AA is based on. It really does come down to understanding what love is. So it's based on love, emotional and spiritual development. Emotional and spiritual development is painful enough. Learning how to feel life in the moment of now is painful enough, and the same applies when we put these principles of living into our lives outside fellowship. So, you know, behaving and acting with a loving and cherishing outlook, open, honest and willing in real life, in the real harsh world. Well, actually I find it much more, I suppose, enriching the quality of my life. Now this is how it works. It's painful enough. At the same time it applies when we put these principles of living into our lives outside the fellowship. Abusing people and belittling people will get those people nowhere. Principles of equality, openness, honest and willing will evoke the same in others. If we approach it with humility of that. How did I say that? Where did I get that wisdom from? Yeah. Wisdom sharers encourage the sharing of wisdom. Bullies encourage bullying and abuse in this life. I know it happened to me, and it broke me, and I'm grateful I was broken enough, and now repaired with wisdom one day at a time. So what happened to me? I was working in the finance industry, suggesting that open, honest, fair dealing and integrity were the values which would get business and make it grow and grow and grow. So it's about growth. So the organisation was up for sale, and they didn't want open, honest, fair dealing and willing. They wanted dishonest. They wanted closed down, dishonest, not fair, not telling the truth, and having no integrity, because it meant there'd be a big payoff for some people and no payoff for other people who would be made redundant as a consequence. And it all went to shit, and so did I. But the good news was I was so ill I couldn't even make it out of my flat at the time. So I was completely broken. But the good news is, several years later, I'm not quite so broken on a daily basis, and I'm still here. So how am I feeling today? Well, I missed a day out on Friday doing a video, and then catch-up was quite difficult. So how am I feeling? I feel tired and stretched out right now. So I need time to rest. The beginning of a new week, so it's Monday, February 25th, 2013, all day. Well, it's now 11 o'clock in the morning, grey outside. And it's the beginning of the week. More importantly, living in the day, I can utilise my senses and check what is going on inside me with my feelings, and spiritually how they are today. And also physically, one day at a time. And for some unknown reason, probably because I munched something last night I ought not to, my blood sugars were 4 times higher than they ought to be. So I woke up with a bit of a headache. Becoming overtired will undermine my serenity, and I've just discovered that because of the way Facebook works, there is a huge amount of email I've not been able to process, or able to access first, or be updated in recent months. It makes me feel like I've let people down by not understanding the changing nature of Facebook. So it has different columns of connections for different reasons. So I've missed a huge amount of email over the last 8 months, which I am very sorry about. And I'm not sure what to do about it, so just for today I have to take it easy and see what I can and cannot do today. And all my email and mail is backing up at the moment, because I'm doing a video and I'm doing the writing and trying to do other things as well. So something's going to have to stop, and I'm not quite sure which way it will go. I have to keep it in the day and work out what I can do and cannot do now, with a weather eye for the future, what is good for me, and keep on doing the can do, can't do. So not too good this morning. 4 times higher blood sugar is not sustainable without damage. So I've had a good old belt of insulin through injection. I'm a type 1 diabetic, courtesy of living long enough to get it from a virus. I would have liked it to be lifestyle, and then I could blame myself for it. But actually, I took the opportunity to have an operation which was necessary, and the shock to the system caused the production of insulin to stop. So type 1 insulin dependent injector. Never thought I'd be taking injections in recovery, because I was an alcoholic. I thought I might at least go back to alcoholism. And also I have a friend who says, well, just because you've got type 1 diabetes, it's yet another reason not to drink. And I've tried to say to them, type 1 diabetes is no reason to stop drinking. The reason why we stop drinking is we want a better life, without being a slave to something that used to be our best friend, that used to provide conviviality and joy. But if you have to try and control your drinking, there is no fun in it. Well, not for an alcoholic. You know, 1 drink is never enough. So no drinks, an open, honest and willing way forward. Face the day, face the emotions, and really understand what it's like to feel life. Raw, real life is far better than fixing life so we think we're okay. We're not. The Serenity prayer, which always helps me, can do, can't do, wisdom to know the difference. It can be to God, good conscience, but the higher power for me is obviously the truth, love and wisdom around the world, which is always there and accessible in some way or other. And if it's not accessible, wait a while and don't rush your next decision. Get angry and take a drink. Don't do that. And that simple thing of don't drink and go to meetings was infuriating for me. I mean, I did as many as I could in 90 days, and suddenly I was 90 days sober and not shivering or jittering or rattling. And I didn't see the change coming. That the change had happened. I was able to sit and listen again, rather than looking where I might find the next drink. It's all right to be in recovery. If you're a newcomer, an old timer, even if you're a bleeding deacon, I can see you. And even if you're just living one day at a time. Now that is a kind of magic without a drink, because you do see the magic and the miracles of life, as well as the god-awful ugliness that can be there as well. The Serenity Prayer, as you choose to believe either in God, a higher power, or whatever it is, just so you know it's not you, you're not alone, and the wisdom is around us. So to God, and it's about being restored to serenity. You know, we get insane with the way life is every day. We can get mad as hell about it. But the can do, cannot do, wisdom to know the difference, always keeps me more safe and able to ask when I need to. So to God, in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference by the moment, minute, hour, just for today.